Micah, you mentioned that you've had asthma, and I've read that you resolved your asthma by doing cold water exposure. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is an anecdote, and I have no financial interest, so I can say whatever I want, which is great. But it essentially, and by the way, I've never even taken an affiliate fee or I've never had a dime from cold water therapy, and that's great. But essentially, I got into it not knowing that it would work with my asthma, so I had pretty I don't know. I guess you could say moderate asthma, but sometimes I would get so tight chested that I would throw up. And so I would have those moments that it felt really severe. I just never did an inhaler. I just always felt like if I do an inhaler, that's just going to start down some sort of road that I don't want. And so I would rather condition myself just to live within this this sucky situation
Yeah.
but still like retain my autonomy, not being dependent on an inhaler. And that turned out to be the right decision because the steroids are terrible.
Yep.
But anyway, so I got into ice baths because I was out with my family in Washington, and there's this canal that comes in from the ocean, but it's not freezing cold. It's just like cool. But nonetheless, all the family was out there. I jump into the water, and I remember somebody talking to me, and I couldn't breathe because my lungs had just constricted up, and I was like trying to get words out, couldn't talk. And really, I was just embarrassed because it's like, I was a pretty fit guy, all that kind of stuff, and like this like 65-degree water just takes me out to where like I can't breathe, and it's really uncomfortable. And now I have to like go lick my wounds, so to speak. And so I was kind of embarrassed by that. But my thought process was like, hey, can I get to the place where I can jump into the colder water, not even thinking down to ice bath temperatures, but 60, 65 degrees, and my lungs don't constrict up, thereby making them stronger, hopefully more resilient in another area of cold. And so I started to do cold tap water baths, cold showers, and I would notice that my breathing was actually getting better. I graduated into doing some of the cold streams from mountain runoff, which is snow melts and all that kind of stuff. And my breathing kept on getting better over the course of I don't know how long, maybe 6 weeks to 2 months. It was like, hey, I'm really not having the issues of tight chestedness that I was, or breathing issues, or even when I would run, I would wheeze. And so what I noticed and this was quite a while ago, this was like 7, 8 years ago. I didn't think of like ice baths as this cool thing. I thought it was like psychopaths that did polar plunges for fundraisers, right?
I
It
can't say
really,
you're wrong.
yeah, I was like, I didn't even think of it as having any sort of medical benefit or any sort of therapeutic kind of benefit. I was just doing it to myself because, I have some weird thing about punishing myself to become stronger, right? And that's perhaps the athletic side, but that was really my only thought process. But what I found from that was like this gold mine of, wow, this really alleviated my asthma. And coming to get to know you more and all the other benefits of brown fat and thermogenesis and the mitochondrial improvements that you get really started to construct the narrative of what I had already been experiencing for many years. So I started to post about some of my experiences just on social media. It's just me in my backyard doing my thing. And I had maybe a couple hundred messages and comments of people being like, oh, it helped with my asthma too. And I was like, that's interesting, But that being said, it does seem that some people it doesn't help in the case of asthma, and I don't know what the difference maker is.
Mhm.
I don't know asthma very well. Like I said, I never did an inhaler. I didn't really care to go to a physician about it because I was tolerating life okay. So I never really looked into it, and so I'm just a guy out there jumping in cold water, and it happened to help with me. But I don't really know what the mechanism is. Maybe you have some light on that I don't. But
Not yet. I got to go to the library. It may be that asthma has multiple origins. It may be that there is an autoimmune aspect to some asthma that is modulated by the cold therapy. And that's the hypothesis that I want to track down in the library. I don't know. like the mechanisms or the standard of care for asthma, I do know that it can be life-threatening, and that's where maybe a steroid inhaler would help. In that one instance, you did something different. You had an adverse reaction to mild cold. And instead of saying, oh, I can't do cold, asthma is a contraindication for anything under 70-degree water, you adopted on your own something called stress inoculation. That is gradually exposing yourself to the stress, whether it's a phobia or whether it's a physiological reaction to the stress that initiates the adverse reaction, to inure yourself to it so that you're no longer vulnerable to it. Was this a gradual process for you?
Yeah, it was because I started off with just cold tap water baths and cold showers. And then, like I said, that snow melt water, that's something else because you
Yeah.
got a rushing river and you got the water's maybe 38, but coupled with how fast the water is running by, you get no thermal shield, no coverage. And so, yeah, I did gradually go up to that. But then when I met you guys at the biohacking conference, I remember being really excited because I didn't know about ice bath companies and the thing. It's just like when I got the chance, I would go and jump in these cold rivers or cold whatever, or do the cold showers at home. So I was really excited. I remember, I can't remember who it was that I was talking to. Um, what's her name? Last name, it starts with the W. Anyway, um, yeah, I had done it a couple times. I was like, this is incredible. I love this ice bath. It like is had a really good experience, really good people walking you through it, all that kind of stuff. And she's like, I was like, I want to do it on the day before I leave. And I'm like, well, I can hold it open till like 7 a.m. or something. And so I was like, I made sure to wake up early so that I could go and do this ice bath before you guys took off. And then I got caught up with, I think it was Brian Johnson with the red light saunas. But anyway, then I remember being like, oh shoot, I need to get over there. So I was like sprinting to get to the thing just so I could get my 5 minutes in your guys' ice bath because I loved it. But yeah, it's been really, really good improvement to my life. Not just because I enjoy the experience of it, but because it gives me obviously I can breathe so much better. That's the biggest thing. But then all the other things of becoming more adaptable, learning how to breathe. So like I can go out in 25-degree weather now where there's like some snow on the ground, just have a sweatshirt on. And now I know how to breathe to keep
Yeah.
my body warm. And I live in Michigan, so that's actually really convenient for me. I can stay out in cold temperatures for a really long time. Got rid of like cold hands, cold feet. That was kind of a perennial thing for me, especially in the cold months. Exercise, it's also great doing it right before because previous to this, it was kind of like you would get these hit or miss days where it'd be like, I feel really good today. Now that feeling is much, much more consistent. So, been a big addition to my life for sure.